An ugly Christmas sweater. Did you get a chance, if you have one, did you get a chance this Christmas season to wear it? How many times, if you wore it, how many times did you wear it? When did you wear it? Where did you wear it? What was the occasion? If you're thinking about your own ugly sweater or one you happened to see this Christmas season, just how ugly was it? What did it look like? What made it stand out? What made it look so ugly? Probably have a couple clashing, contrasting pictures in your mind right now. But let me ask you this. If you have an ugly Christmas sweater, and I do, and I wore it, so I can ask the question, why? Why did you wear an ugly Christmas sweater this holiday season? I suppose the answer would vary. Someone gave it to me. I felt I had to. I don't want to take myself too seriously. Just want to have a good time, start a conversation, maybe be goofy, silly, add to the atmosphere of the party. Regardless of why you wear it or why you'd never wear one, do you know how this fad actually got started? Some credit a few guys up in Canada somewhere for doing this, but in the end, it was just one person, one party. Someone thought it would be fun. Someone thought it would be funny to wear to an office Christmas party or a family holiday gathering or a game night with friends an old sweater of his dad's, or an old sweater that his grandpa used to wear back in the early 80s. And this would have been in the early 2000s. Retro, throwback, that's still kind of in, right? The sweater would have been simple enough, I assume, maybe blue and white. Maybe there were a few snowflakes on the front or one big one. You can picture the silhouettes of the reindeer maybe running across the top of that sweater. And it did the trick. It got a laugh. It started some conversations. It got people thinking. And then it got people scrounging. People were scrounging through their parents, their grandparents' dresser drawers and closets and bins down in the basement and boxes up in the attic and going to thrift shops and Goodwill stores across town, finding a sweater, a throwback, a Christmas, something ugly that they could wear to these places. Now, no designer in the early 80s ever set out to design something ugly or loud, and yet that in a period of 20, 30 years, that's what they became, right? People wore them to be goofy and silly and have some fun and not take themselves too seriously, or to stand out, draw attention to themselves, start some conversation. And I don't have to tell you what the fad has become today, 40 years later. Now you stand out at those Christmas parties if you don't wear an ugly Christmas sweater. Now you don't have to search through someone's old clothes to find something that's loud or ugly to wear to these. You can actually go to the store, to the department store, buy something brand new because they're designing them even uglier, even more loud. They're even three-dimensional. They have things hanging off them. They make sounds and bells. They even light up. So now you're thinking about these ugly Christmas sweaters. Just how ugly are they? I ask the question because each one of us wears something uglier than even the ugliest of Christmas sweaters. And we wear it not just during the holiday season, but we wear it every day of our lives. And the ugly sweaters that we wear are no joke, and they're not silly, and they're not goofy. But they do make us stand out, but not in a good way. They do draw attention to ourselves, but not in a flattering way. And they do start conversations about us, but not the ones we'd want our mothers to ever hear. Our ugly thoughts aren't very becoming, are they? Our thoughts, our views, our opinions of the people around us, sure, what they wear, but more than that, what they look like or how they talk or how they speak, how they live, how they act. Ugly, not them, but our view of them. Contempt and animosity and hatred are never pretty. Our words, our ugly words, aren't very becoming, are they? Rumors, gossip, slander never are. Ugly, insensitive, hurtful, putting people down, belittling them, name calling. Not very becoming at all for a child of God. Our actions, our ugly actions, aren't very becoming, are they? Rude behavior, selfish behavior, flying off the handle, never are. So often our actions may start out innocent enough, they might start out as a joke, a little teasing, but so often they go too far and they hurt other people by embarrassing them or calling attention to them, singling them out, or they go too far because we forget about someone altogether. Ugly actions, not very becoming of a child of God. And yet sometimes we become emboldened in our ugly actions to the point where we're trying to make a statement. We're trying to draw attention to ourselves and our behavior. We're trying to claim some independence. No one's the boss of me. No one's going to tell me what to do. In fact, I'd like to set the tone here. I'd like to set the lead. I'd like others to follow me. Ugly. Our thoughts and words and actions, and yet we wear them loud and proud every day, don't we? The stains of pride, the blotches of envy, the stench of lies, the filth of lust, the wrinkles of greed, the tears of hurtful words, the holes of strained relationships, the frays of doubt. Ugly. Hardly a joke. Hardly silly, hardly goofy. Yet sometimes we get so used to wearing these ugly sweaters, we don't even take our sin very seriously anymore. But sin is serious. Very serious. So serious that God actually came to earth to do something about it. But not what you would have expected, not what I would have expected, not what the world would have ever expected. You see, Jesus came to the earth not to condemn the world, not to condemn you, not to condemn me, but to save the world, to save you, to save me. You see, Jesus is the cutest little baby boy that was ever born. But I don't mean in the eyes of his mother, and I don't mean to those adoring shepherds who came that day, that night, and I don't mean to the wise men who would come later, and not because he had such tiny little feet with such tiny little toes and such cute, adorable, kissable cheeks. No, Jesus was the cutest little baby boy that ever lived because unlike you and unlike me, he had no sin. Unlike you, unlike me, there was nothing ugly about his nature. Jesus was the most handsome man that ever lived. But again, not in the eyes of the crowds that adored him or in the eyes of the women who supported his ministry, and not because he had such attractive, distinguished features, a strong jaw, a rugged build. And no, in fact, Isaiah would tell us there's nothing in his appearance that would ever attract us to him. No, Jesus was the most handsome man who ever lived. He was the most beautiful human being because his life was a perfect tapestry of love and kindness, humility and service, help and encouragement, respect and obedience. And it's from that tapestry of Christ's life that the yarn is pulled to knit together a sweater, a new sweater for you and for me and for each one of us. It's from that tapestry of Christ's life that the threads are pulled to sew a new garment for you, a new garment for me, a new garment for each one of us. It's the garment of salvation, and it's the sweater of righteousness. But Jesus would weave that sweater together not on a wooden loom, but on a rugged cross. And he would knit that sweater together not with long needles, but with rusty nails. And he would weave that sweater together. He'd knit that sweater together with two very contrasting balls of yarn. One bright white with his innocence, and yet the other one bright red with his blood. He would stitch together, he would sew together this garment of salvation with the threads of his life-taking sacrifice and his life-giving resurrection. A masterful pattern that wove together God's justice, that demanded payment for sin, but God's love that wants all people to be saved. And then the masterful detail work, the needlepoint that would etch into the label of that garment of salvation, that sweater of righteousness, your name and mine, as though we were the ones who had lived that perfect tapestry of love and kindness, humility and service, help and encouragement, respect and obedience, as though we were the ones who endured the pain and punishment, the abandonment and hell, the suffering and death of that rugged cross. No stain, no wrinkle, no blemish. You and me, because of this perfectly tailored garment of salvation, this perfectly knitted sweater of righteousness that he's given to you and to me. A sweater that covers you perfectly, that covers me perfectly. All of those ugly thoughts, all of those ugly words, all of those ugly actions covered, holy, blameless, pure, white as wool. That's what the blood of Jesus does, isn't it? It purifies us from all unrighteousness. Jesus, as the hymn writer would say, his beauty is our glorious dress. In about a month, February 9th, actors and actresses, writers and producers, directors and designers are going to walk Hollywood's red carpet for the 92nd Annual Academy Awards, the Oscars. And on that red carpet, in front of cameras and photographers, alongside microphones and interviewers, invariably the question that many of those celebrities are going to be asked is this: who are you wearing tonight? And they'll say Armani or Versace or Prada or Chanel. I'm wearing Chanel. And maybe that dress that actress is wearing is beautiful and elegant, a flowing evening gown that just looks nice. And maybe that tuxedo is sharp and perfectly tailored. Couldn't look better. Dapper. And maybe those dresses and tuxedos will be loud and ugly and gaudy. Not make any sense. It'll be weird and crazy, but they'll still be Chanel and Prada and Versace. But not you. Not me. No, we wear something better. When someone one day asks you, not on Hollywood's red carpet, but on heaven's golden street, who are you wearing today? The answer is simple. The answer is Jesus. I'm wearing Jesus today and for all eternity. A beautiful sweater, a beautiful garment, a sweater of righteousness, a garment of salvation. Jesus is our Christmas sweater. He's our Easter dress. He's our wedding tuxedo. But we don't have to wait until that heavenly wedding banquet. We don't have to wait until heaven to wear Jesus. We can wear Jesus already now, can't we? Dear Christian, do some knitting of your own. Do some weaving of your own. Do some sewing of your own. Sew into your thoughts the very thoughts of Christ. Sew into your thoughts the threads of peace and hope and joy. Weave into your words the very words of Christ. Weave into your words the strands of encouragement and forgiveness and help. And knit into your actions the very actions of Christ. Knit into your actions the yarn of humble service, willing obedience, loving kindness. Stand out. Stand out, but draw attention to your Savior, to Jesus, who has dressed you in the garment of his salvation. Amen. Please stand.